Today, we're gonna go fly a drone, Litchi style. Okay, this is the Litchi app for Litchi for DJI drones. It's an alternative app that you can use for your DJI drones. I use this for my Mavic Mini, mostly because it didn't include like an active track or Waypoint system for this drone. DJI didn't put that in there, obviously, because, you know, probably too expensive to do that, who knows, or just a feature to make you upgrade to a more expensive drone. Now, again, this is not sponsored by or paid for or any kind of business transaction by Litchi and myself. I have completely paid for this app myself, and there's nothing like that. So basically, there has been some updates, and this is sort of a response video to a few comments in my old video that, you know, just to go over some of the features and setting up the app for the first time. Obviously, won't be the first time for myself, but kind of go over a few more of the setup options rather than just some of the actual features. So real quickly, I don't remember how much the app was. I know it was less than $20, and in my mind, that was pretty good for active track and setting up waypoints and doing a few other things. In this new app, the new update, there was support added for a new drone, the Mavic Air 2. One of the biggest points that has been added is the waypoint mode for the Mavic Mini 1 and the Air 2. Essentially, you can plan out your shots in advance, set up waypoints kind of right here. As you can see, you can set up waypoints on a map, hit play, and then it will automatically fly between those waypoints, which I think is super duper cool, especially if you wanted to do like a cinematic kind of shot with your drone. Instead of flying, you can just concentrate more on your gimbal and the actual shot composition, which I think is a cool feature. Just some other little things like Facebook login is not supported, so you don't have to use that. Basically, you just create a new account. I don't think I did that on mine. This looks kind of cool. Fixed a bug in the follow mode where the gimbal would not stay on the subject when there was elevation changes. The follow mode does work pretty well. I did test that out on the other video, and I've tested it out and I've used it in some other videos that I've made with my drone. It follows pretty good. Surprisingly, I was pretty impressed with it. So that's cool that it is working a little bit more. And then there's just some other bug fixes that were done. So right here, this is the list of actual drones that it's compatible with: the Mavic Mini 1, the Air 2, the Mavic 2, Zoom In Pro, Mavic Air Pro, the Phantom series, so the 4, 3, and then the Inspires and the Spark. Unfortunately, it's not yet compatible with the Mini 2, the Mini SE, or the Air 2S. Basically, they're still waiting on DJI to release their software development kits for those. So until that happens, unfortunately, the Mini 2 users are kind of out of luck, which is unfortunate. However, the Mini 2, I thought, does have an active track mode. I could be wrong. I think overall, I was pretty happy with it. So yeah, I'm going to close this out and we're going to switch over to the actual app itself. All right, so to get into the track mode, you just hit up in the top left-hand corner. That'll bring up this menu here. You just click on the track button. Now this is supposed to be the active track mode. So you can set up essentially where you want the drone to be. Now what I forgot to do here was actually select it. Now select the object to track. As you can see, I'm pulling away and the drone's not really doing anything. If you go into the little settings, it's that little option there. This allows you to select which way the drone's going to point initially, how fast it's going to orbit around the subject, and then just kind of where the tracking is going to take place. In order to do that, you can see now you pinch on the screen to add the box around the subject that you want to track. And now you can see the little green box around my car. Now the drone is tracking. So once you have the subject tracked, you can click on the little person there, and then that is now supposed to be following. Now I had the drone a little bit too close, a little too low, and it just kind of loses the subject. And then once it kind of loses it, you have to reset it. So now that I've got it tracked again, I have it on tracking. I didn't put it on follow, so the camera is actually tracking my vehicle. However, it is not following, and there was just an error saying it couldn't track me anymore because I'm too far away. I didn't press the little icon there on the left with the person with the arrow beside it. That is the actual follow mode. So I think from here, I just decided to land it. So we're gonna move locations. I'm just gonna land and we'll start again. All right, now so that I've changed locations, just kind of on a back road here. Again, just setting up the tracking. You see in the bottom left there, I've got myself selected. And once again, I only put it on tracking mode. So the drone is staying in one place. However, it is not actually following me because I did not press the option on the left. So that is one of the kind of silly things about this, is that you have to first put it on tracking mode and then put it on follow mode. So it's not really one option. So you can do one or the other depending on, you know, what you're doing. For what I'm doing here, I probably, well, you need to put it on track and follow rather than just track, because track will only keep it in one place and that's it. And again, I did the same thing. I pinched to follow. The camera is tracking me. It's doing a fairly good job at doing that, but I was wondering why the heck it wasn't following me. And again, that's just my fault because you have to track and follow. It's another one of those where I had a nice decent composition, but I totally forgot to do that. So I think on this one I put it in follow mode. So what this one is doing, it's following the GPS signal from the controller. Again, I didn't really set the follow distance and follow elevation correctly. I just kept it on the defaults from the last time I used it. And again, you can see that it did follow me, which was what it was supposed to do. The settings are a north facing heading. So right now the camera is actually facing north, but I didn't change any of the settings like the height or the distance where it was supposed to follow. So it just kind of went to what it was supposed to be, which I think was 9 meters behind and 4 meters elevation. So on this one, I did change the elevation and the follow distance. So now, again, this is a follow mode. So it's following the remote control, not necessarily a subject. So it will just stay behind. And there's me just trying to be silly. Again, that one's pretty good. You know, if you're riding a bike or in a car, this mode might be a little bit better, as you know, it's just following your vehicle. That's pretty much it. So it is better if you do have somebody in, you know, the vehicle with you that can actually, you know, control the camera, because it will only follow, and whatever the camera is set at, that's what it's going to do. It's not like the actual track where it's tracking a specific subject. So again, here I am going to try to do the track now that the settings are set a little bit further away. Hopefully the camera actually keeps a good track on the subject. Once again, I didn't put on the follow. This is just tracking me, so the camera and the drone is moving, which is what it is supposed to be doing, and it's doing it fairly well. I'm just kind of slowly driving away, and there you go. It did actually track the subject until it lost me behind the fence, which again, my fault. Didn't put it in follow mode. It tracked me really well, and that part of the app is really nice. So at this point, the one battery is just about to die, so I had to bring it back in, take land, and change the battery. It's about -12 outside, so the drone surprisingly held up pretty well. I know the operating temperature is only supposed to be about 0 degrees, but it's -12 and it did fairly well. So now I pretty much, I think I figured out what my issue was. Again, it wasn't pressing the follow button when I was setting the track mode. So here I was just trying to see if I can get a side follow, just kind of composing the shot here. It didn't really do it as well as I would hoped, but again, track mode is on, selected. You pinch to select your subject, and then the crucial step is pressing the follow button. Now it's tracking and following me. So you will see I actually start to move based on the settings. It's now actually tracking me and following me at the distance that I said it should have been in the first place. So here I just stopped. And I'm not 100% sure why it lost me. Probably because it was at the side and the settings are set to follow in like behind, and that was probably my fault. It's really specific when you choose what heading it's supposed to do. And this part was a little finicky. For some reason it wouldn't allow the tracking at either a lower or a higher height, so I had to get to kind of a specific altitude. So I think this one was probably the best track it did. I select again my subject, and I've got it set to follow and track. So I'm just kind of going pretty slow here. It's doing a pretty good job at keeping me in frame. You can see it's kind of yellow-orange on the screen. But at this point, I'm probably doing about 50-60 kilometers an hour, and it's doing a pretty good job at keeping up. Again, it wasn't too far. It was just a small little street that I was on, but that was the best that it did. So once you get the correct altitude, a good track, make sure there's pretty decent contrast between the subject and the foreground or background, you can get a pretty good track. Again, that little section there, I probably topped out at about 55-60 kilometers per hour, and it managed to keep up pretty well there. So that's the follow and track mode. Pretty impressed with that. So I'm just gonna land the drone, and from here, I'm gonna head back home, and we'll go over the Waypoint feature right now. Okay, so we're going to set up a waypoint now. Create a new mission here. Cruising speed at 8. I'm going to do custom. Be pretty quick. Pretty big curve. I think we're above most of the trees, so. Let's set waypoints here. We're gonna go 1. We're gonna go fly over here. Fly over here. Fly here. Back home. Alright. Start now. Let's see how it goes. That works really well. We're actually going to do that one again, but I'm going to try to turn the camera around this time. It's just doing the same thing. So, most vector control is camera. Most I can control is the camera, which is fine. I still think that's really cool. Hopefully I can do this really quick here. So it's just hovering right there with the Litchi mode, or this in Litchi. I'm going to increase the exposure a little bit here. Okay. Now, one of the cool things with this is I'm going to go into photo mode here. And one of the nice things is that the regular DJI app doesn't have a metering or like an HDR photo mode. So one of the nice things with this is you can go into the settings here, and we're going to go into photo settings, and we're actually going to do an AEB, so we can stack shots to actually make an HDR photo. So what I'm going to do is set for 3 shots, about 1 exposure difference. AEB, that's what we're going to take. So now, you'll see in the camera settings here on the button, it shows AEB. So now, when I take a photo, it takes three photos at three different exposures. So when I go back onto the computer, I'll load them on there and I'll stack them, and then you can get a really nice photo out of it. We're gonna point to downtown this way, up. Again, I'm gonna take 3 shots. Go. So again, it takes 1 at normal exposure, 1 under exposure for the shadows, and 1 over exposure for the highlights. Or it's the other way around. Either way, it's good. Take another one. Let's go this way. Another one there. Perfect. Battery's about to die, so I'm just going to bring it down. It's cold. It's like minus 12 out right now. Okay, one final bit here before we finish up, and I do apologize if this is quick. We'll go through some of the photo and camera settings under the options menu, which is just below the shutter button, the 3 lines there on the right. So you can change the photo size between what pictures you take, so either 4:3 standard camera pictures or 16:9. I usually just keep it on 16:9. Now you can do interval photos, so if you wanted to do like a time lapse, you can set how long each of the pictures you want to go, anywhere from 2-second exposures to 60-second exposures. As far as exposure settings, you can set it to auto or manual. So you can set your shutter speed for your video. You can set the aperture is fixed at f2.8. Generally, with your shutter speed, you want it 180-degree rule. Video sizes 2.7K, maximum 30 frames per second. You can do 25 and 24. And then 1080 HD, you can do 25, 24, 30, 50, and 60 frames per second. You do get some anti-flicker options. I usually just keep that on auto. And then you get your white balance. If you do want to set that, you can set that to auto or custom. I tend to do custom level because I'm usually shooting it out in the middle of the day. That's why I also have the ND filters, so you can see how the white balance changes there. And then you have your other options that I don't usually go into, but pretty much most of the settings there that I tend to use. And then just in the actual further settings, you can change your units of measurement, the map engine. I usually just use Google map type. It's just the satellite view. And that's pretty much it for the settings.